Hey, how's it going? In today's video, we're going to be looking at the Mythos Pedals Argonaut Octave. So full disclosure, this is a pedal that I own. So this is my pedal. This is one of my favorite pedals that I own, actually. It's really interesting. It's always inspiring. And it's different than my love for drive pedals. It does something kind of weird, and I find a lot of uses for it for being kind of a niche pedal. So the Argonaut is kind of part of a brother and sister pedal. There's the Argo, which is the octave fuzz, and it's a 3-knob fuzz. And then we have the Argonaut, which is just the octave side of that. This is similar to a few other octave pedals out there. It's kind of like the octave part of an octavia without the fuzz. You've got like the Love Pedal Believe that does a similar-ish thing, and then the Earthquaker Tentacle is along the same lines here. This one though is so musical and harmonically, I don't know, interacts in a way that I've found that those others don't, at least for me in my setup. So on the Mythos website, so their description for this pedal is: the Argonaut is a no-frills pedal with a cleanish octave up sound. Using it alone offers to use a gnarly ring mod-esk sound that's pretty funky. The fun begins when you combine it with your favorite overdrive or fuzz pedals. Once combined, all the iconic octave tones we know and love begin to jump out of your signal. It's very touch responsive, weird, and fun, all rolled into one small package. So this is using new old stock germanium diodes, and it's just a really simple pedal. There's no knobs or anything on this. This pedal, for me, is kind of the culmination of a long time ago. I got a really good deal on an old Electro Harmonics ring mod, and it's in the big, you know, kind of bent aluminum housing that the memory mans were in, and it was a pedal I had never heard. It was just really cheap. I didn't really understand it, but I had it on my board in college, and it was just there, and I used it very frequently. Ring mod is a weird, usually used in more psychedelic or shoegazy situations. However, I was using it on like pop and country guitar parts. And what I found is on that one, I would dial it to where it's just barely like mixed in the signal. And so the mix was very low. And you can control kind of the ring mod, which is adding like a different harmonic tone. And I would just bring it to a place that felt right. And it's kind of unpredictable because it's going to change depending on what you're playing there. But having it really low, what I found was it fattened up kind of the guitar in the mix, but also it gave you the feeling of like a high transient, like when you're playing a very clean sound where you've got just this immediate attack and the signal dies down. But when you're playing more of an overdriven, you know, it's a pretty saturated sound, then what happens is you get that initial transient attack, but you're not, you know, playing clean. And so that's something that I've found really valuable for single note lines, and then fattening up some kind of stabs with chords on rhythm or something. And so in the track you heard at the beginning, I wanted to do something that's a little atypical for this style of pedal, and a little atypical for how I even love this pedal, because this is more of the application that I find myself using it in. So in that track at the beginning, there was 2 rhythm guitar sounds. One of them had the Argonaut on, and I was just kind of emphasizing those chord changes there, and it fattened up the mix quite a bit. And then I also had it on for my lead sound, which is a pretty gained up sound, and what I was using is the PT100 plug-in on the Universal Audio, and I have the Argonaut just going straight in to my Apollo. So what you can hear in that is I've got a lot of sustain on those lead lines. And so you can definitely tell it on the leads, but with the rhythm, you can't really tell that it's there, but you would notice if it's not there. So let's kind of listen to just a snippet of that rhythm guitar with and without it, and how much it adds. So this is something you're going to have to be really careful with if you're using it in this application, because it can add a lot of mud to the signal in more of a pristine rock, pop, or country situation. However, it can fill out a mix really well, and that's how I've used it, just subtly in the background, kind of emphasizing those chord changes. You get that kind of stabby, high transient effect with it if it's just low in the mix. The other reason I love this pedal is just for the funness of the pedal, and I find myself using it more in that octave, octavia, fuzzy way. I have demoed my full pedal board and how I combine the Argonaut with some of my favorite overdrive pedals, and that's the coolest thing. It's like getting an octave fuzz. However, you can decide what the overdrive or what the fuzz characteristics are going to be by just pairing it with, you know, like one of my favorite fuzz pedals is the Pelotar, and being able to just add an octave on the front end of that, and then I have my Octavia sound where I've got a very tailored fuzz. But also it's very cool kind of plugging in a higher gain overdrive like the Ultraphonics by Vertex and pairing these together. You can get, it's almost Octavia, but it's a little cleaner, a little smoother, and that's super fun. So let's kind of listen to a couple different ways that I use this pedal outside of in the mix of a song like that initial track at the beginning. All right, so I have my PRS plugged straight into the Argonaut, and the Argonaut is going straight into the Apollo, and I'm going through the PT100 plug-in from Brainworks, and here's kind of my clean tone that I'm going to be using here. So it's somewhat clean. It's definitely got a little hair on it. And the first way that I love using this pedal is on a clean sound. And I think Josh Smith and Joey Landreth both have used this pedal in this way, kind of clean, and doing more of the kind of bluesy, slightly beboppy. So you get that Octavia kind of octave up. Okay, and then on the neck pickup, it's having a lot more octave up, but when we go to the bridge, and you know, you can almost chord with it, and I do chord with it often, but this is a lot closer to that ring mod kind of sound and vibe from it on the bridge pickup. Get into more complex triads, it starts to kind of just fail on you. But when you go to the neck pickup, and beyond the 12th fret on the neck pickup, classically, you have that really sweet upper octave. And it helps to have a stronger right hand because there is so much that's built into that attack of it, you know, just barely. I think that heavy attack on the right hand is where this pedal really comes to life, in my opinion, especially on the neck pickup. So let's actually dial in a little bit of gain from that PT 100 plug-in. So when you're lower than the 12th fret and you've got a decent amount of gain happening, this is definitely not high gain by any means, but when you have that gain happening, to me, you're getting almost this, you can't really tell if it's an octave up or if it's like a really bright reverb that's kind of feeding back, or if the guitar is feeding back in a live situation, and that's what I really love. And it's all of that upper register harmonic content that you're hearing kind of overdrive and overload itself, and we're hearing those germanium diodes in there really working and clipping, and we're getting that octave up. And then when we go to single coil mode, in single coil mode, to me, that is really where you get a lot dirtier, funny enough, at least in my ears. You know, the brighter sounds are getting more aggressive in the way that they're clipping. And again, also when you add the gain, you can start to chord a lot better. So let's go to a slightly dirtier sound on the PT100. So I'm going to go to channel 2. This is what a slightly dirtier sound. We're going to get even more sustain. It's almost mixing the octave down a little bit in the mix, and so you can chord better. It's a lot smoother. It's less brittle. So the higher gain, you're getting a lot closer to that just fuzz face sound. It is making the gain react closer to a fuzz pedal rather than like a higher gain amp. However, the way that this Argonaut is working in that octave, it's getting a lot closer to an Octavia drive sound and away from more of that ring mod sound, the more gain that you're putting after it. And that's a really cool way to use this pedal as well. I think that there's a lot of inspiring tones, and it kind of pushes you as a guitar player to be really intentional about what you're playing and get your pick attack. You're not able to kind of glide through some phrases the same way. This pedal really demands a pretty even and heavy pick attack, in my opinion, to get it to work the way to where I'm using it. You really need to have a heavy right hand and be pretty consistent about it for every note to kind of come through the mix there. However, that's the beauty of it. You have this high transient response that you can add on top of something else to make it sing and stand out a little better, and especially on leads and single note things, there is this feedback, really bright hall or spring reverb thing that's this, different than the octave. And it's the unpredictability factor in an octave like this versus something that is giving you a true, clean, really well tracking digital octave. This is very far from that. This is like, a fuzz pedal that's just kind of crazy and unpredictable. It's a lot closer to that than like a true, clean digital octave. However, have found a lot of uses far beyond the Jimi Hendrix Octavia thing, and I've used it quite a bit as doubled an extra thing, similar to the kind of funky vintage amps that we talked about last week. Having these kind of oddball things that can add to the mix and the live sound of a band situation where you need to take up a little more space, where you need to emphasize certain things. These are kind of tools that you can use that are, slightly off and different than your typical gear that you're going to be using for your main sounds. I hope you enjoyed today's video demoing the Mythos Argonaut Octave and the ways that I use it in context of recordings, and kind of push the boundaries of the way a kind of funky pedal like this can be used in the different styles of music that I sneak it in a lot of the times. So definitely check out Mythos Pedals, the Argonaut, and the Argo, which has this circuit as well as a fuzz circuit built in together, and that's a fuzz octave, and then all the rest of their pedals. And you can also shop for them at Mass Street Music, which is my local shop, so quick shout out to them. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then please like and subscribe this new channel that I'm trying to grow, and share this video with others who would dig this kind of funky pedal or other demos of pedals. Please let me know other pedals that you would like to see on this channel and other kinds of content. I would love to interact with you, and I appreciate everybody who's reaching out. And it's been very encouraging, and I really appreciate that. So for now, I've been Colin. Okay, gosh, I'm gonna read all that again. Gear. We're gonna be demoing the. We're just gonna start all again. And shout out. In today's demoing.